It's lazy days again. Today we're still talking Wingnut. そして2本作って、1本ですごい利益あったんだけど、2本で全部利益なくなっちゃって、じゃあもう1本でね、ちょっとね、もう1本作ってちょっと取り戻そうって感じでパート3って作ったのね。それはハワイ。
ハワイですね。ハワイと宮崎ね。千葉にもロケしてるんで、結構大々的な旅をしましたね。
でもハワイではさ、ノースショアに住んでさ、もうプップケアの真ん前の家借りて最高だったね、あれね。
そうね、プップケアの真ん前のそ
の時ね、今でも忘れられないのはさ、着いた時にハレイバンの海岸見に行って、ここで撮影しようかなって話してたら、でも許可がないからダメだっていう話になってね。そしたらタイガーが「いやいいよ、ちょっと待って」っつって、そこにいるライフガードに一言かけたら、5分ぐらいしたらすっごい遠いとこから必死に走ってくるライフガードがいたんだよ。ライフガードの会長で「タイガーどこでもいいよ、撮影許可なし」って言ったんだよね。タイガー・エスペリの力はすごかったね、あれは。
タイガーさんっていう日本にずっと住んでた、もう要するに70年代のレジェンドサーファーなんですけども、そのタイガーさんが結局この、ビデオにね、
関わってくれてね、
協力してくれて、この3作目はどういう趣旨かというと、カリフォルニアのサーファーたちとハワイのサーファーたちとのそのスタイルの違いを考えるっていう、そんなのあったじゃないよ。そういうテーマでやってんのに、もう全然君はもう毎日ね、
海入ってたからね。
そう俺もそうだけど、でもそんな感じでやってて、でそのハワイアンのサーファーがボンガ・パーキンスとかディノ・ミランダとか、あと今カメラマンとしてすごく頑張ってるサグイボとか、
ランス・オーカーノも
も来たし、それはタイガーさんのおかげで。
女の子も来たじゃん。
そうデュエイン・デソトのメイね。あとはチャイナ・ウエムラの息子のケコア・ウエムラ、そういったサーファーが揃って、でハワイアンスタイルのすごくアグレッシブなサーフィンをして、
スイッチスタンツなんかよくしょっちゅうしてさ、みんなね。
かたやカリフォルニアは、アレックス・ノースト、なんとこれが初めてのハワイだったっていう。
高校生ね。
当時13、14歳、で初めてハワイに来て、そうだね。そしたらあいつはしかになっちゃってね。
ついたね。
ついて、でもう毎日高熱出しながら海入って、
高熱でもライディングちゃんとやってたもんね。
やってたね。あとは真ん前に家のあったマーク・マーチンソン、そういうカリフォルニアのサーファーたちのスタイル、あと女性のモーリン・ドラミーとか、そういうカリフォルニアの、サーファーたち、
そして、あとあれじゃん、ジョエル・チューダーもマーク・マーチンさんが呼んでくれて、
なんとジョエル・チューダーが結局ここに参加してくれて、なんとこの3本目ではジョエル・チューダーの結局ロングボーディングの秘訣が彼の肉声で収録されてます。
ウィングナットとジョエルが2人で対談してるのってあんまりないと思うよ。
ないね。
スタイル2人とも違うし、
だからこれがかなり、これもでもね、かなり本当におかげさまで、非常にいいセールスを記録しまして、今もロングセラーで、
続いてるよね。
続いてるんですけども、
やっぱりハワイの波見ると、ハワイはやっぱり波いいなと思うね。もうすごい。
すごい良かったよね。面白かった。俺たちも毎日入ったけど。
そう。
作品としては結構最終的に3本のシリーズの一つの完結編になってます。
Yes, DVD になったのね。
ぜひ。
Check it out, please. Here on Lazy Days, it's Art of Longboarding Part 3. Yeah!
I've been coming to Japan for many years, doing promotions with Robert. We bring the whole Robert August surf team down, and we get to visit a lot of beaches. It's funny, every year when we come, people are always, apologizing for the quality of the surf. For some reason, surfers in Japan, like surfers in other places in the world, don't think their waves live up to the quality of waves in California or Hawaii or elsewhere. And I think it's because they've seen too many videos where they cut out all the bad days and only show you the perfect days. I think surfers need to learn to love the waves that they have, because every spot has its day where it's just as good as the top breaks in California and almost as good as some of the best breaks in Hawaii. So love your spot, it'll treat you good. One of our team riders is Matt Armstrong, a goofy foot from Newport Beach, California, and he's got a real smooth traditional style. You'll see that he takes really small steps and is one of the better nose riders on the Robert August team. You'll notice that the smaller the wave gets, the smaller the steps the surfer will take. When Matt gets down to the really tiny beach break wave, it's real tight, close together steps getting him out to the nose. Dodger Kreml, also on the Robert August team, goofy foot from Huntington Beach, takes larger steps, big 1-2 steps to get all the way out to the nose, and it's a much more open style, but it's still accomplishing the same thing, getting out to the nose, getting a nose ride, getting back. Two styles, two ways to go at it, both work. Cody is the leading regular foot on the Robert August team, has a really traditional style and keeps it very smooth. There's a lot of body English in Cody's surfing. You can see him work with his knees and his hips and his shoulders, and he'll lift out of his turn. He sets things up and always keeps it really smooth. He likes really heavy boards, keeps everything smooth, and also gives them glide through the smaller beach break sections. Still manages to progress ahead of it just because of the momentum of the board. We got invited down to surf in Miyazaki, where they have the Ocean Dome, the largest indoor wave pool, and some of the best surf breaks in Japan. The idea was there was a typhoon moving up the coast. Well, it was a great idea, but as all surfers know, sometimes it just won't pan out. A low came in, blocked the surf, so we got to look at a dozen perfect setups, and none of them with any surf over waist or chest high. Miyazaki is one of those lucky coastlines where there's all sorts of surf in a real narrow area. And for some reason, up and down the coast, it's not always like that. But there's reef breaks, river mouths, beach breaks. It's a really fortunate little zone. The little areas that have phenomenal surf where the rest of the coastline is, out of luck. The beach break in Miyazaki is very similar to the beach breaks in Huntington Beach and Newport Beach in Southern California. Sandbars, there's some groins. It's the sand out of the river that creates the sandbars and gives you the variety of surf. It was really fun coming here and getting to surf with some of the Japanese professional longboard surfers. I've surfed with one of them before. His name is Mami, and he's one of the, I get to tease him, he's one of the older guys. He's older than me, so that makes it fun. And he's been a professional surfer in Japan for years, and he has that professional style. Never makes mistakes. You'll never see Mami swim in after his surfboard. The second surfer we surfed with was Tetsu, a really good and smooth nose rider. I think what I like best about Tetsu surfing is his fade. He's got a great initial fade turn that, he's just calculating and waiting for the wave to set up, and then he pulls the trigger, slams the board in the direction he wants to go, and fires. Shige is the third surfer we surfed with, and he's actually the local from down here. And he had a much wilder, looser style. He would probably fall more than the other two guys, but also tried more. I mean, he would just get wild. And to me, I really like that because he's willing to fail, and I think more surfers need to be willing to do that. Beach breaks are fun because there's more variety. The waves will come from different directions, and depending on the tide and the swell, it'll break more in one spot or the other, and it's so varied, so you really get good at reading the ocean. And there's a lot with the tide changing. It'll be softer at high tide, a little hollower at low tide. You'll deal with closeout sections. It's really the best surf for practicing everything. So that's what's nice about a point break, where you can finesse, fine-tune things. But the beach break is where you can figure out everything. We moved around to different spots looking for better waves, and it's neat to see the evolution of surfing in Japan as now kids are doing it, women are doing it. More people in Japan surf now than ever. There's a distinct difference between Tets and Mommy in their style. Tets has a real California style, real stand-up, real smooth. And Mommy has the lower rotation, more the performance style that you'll see a little bit of that in Hawaii. So two distinct styles in the Japanese surfers. It's the first time I've ever surfed a wave pool. They've got wave pools in America. This one here was one of the first ones ever created. The Ocean Dome at the Sigaya Resort in Miyazaki has to be one of the best wave pools in the world. The Ocean Dome wave was surprisingly good quality-wise. So the small setting was really fun, and then when they cranked it up for the bigger waves, it got our asses kicked. It was great. You actually, it was challenging trying to make the really steep late drops. If you're lucky enough to have both the time and the money to rent a wave pool like the Ocean Dome, it would probably be really neat to help you figure out how to tube ride. Any natural ocean swell is going to vary in size with each set that's coming in. This, same size, same takeoff spot, you can work your way deeper and deeper, or even backdoor that initial peak too. Wave's going to break every, 30 seconds, whatever the pool is set for, so you can really figure out your timing and how to take off on that wave. And then you apply that knowledge to a real ocean situation. Surfers have come to Hawaii to prove themselves since the early 60s. This has been where the biggest waves, the most powerful waves are. It's because this island chain is positioned perfectly in the middle of the Pacific Ocean that it takes a beating from storms that are generated all around the world.
One day soon the sun's gonna shine, and you'll be mine until the end of time. We will soar and yes, we'll fly.
The Hawaiian Islands being volcanic peaks that just stick up in the middle of the ocean, these giant swells come uninterrupted and heave themselves up on the coral reefs around the islands. So it's a much more powerful, deeper swell that throws up on the shallow coral reefs. The waves here are faster, they're more powerful, and more punishing.
Yes, my love, one day soon. Each day I pray you'll come back to me. Open up your loving arms, oh, oh, oh. Baby, you are my destiny. I'll give you all my warmest charms. One day soon.
We stayed at Mark Martinson's house at Pupukea on the north shore of Oahu, a great launching place for surfers and has been for years and years.
We will soar and yes, we'll fly. We will fly. One day soon, you and
And we were really fortunate that we ran into one of Mark's friends, Tiger Asper. And Tiger has been one of the better surfers in Hawaii for decades and has a really great take on what it means to be a surfer in Hawaii.
If the water's clean and, sun's out all the time. But we also need people. We also, if no one came, how are we going to share? First people to come was, of course, the California people. The ones that came at my time, they were like, they had the same soul like us. They just wanted to do it for fun. They came here because they just wanted to try, see if they can do it. And, for me, I feel that in order to keep something going that is Hawaiian, it needs to be shared, not only to the Hawaiian.
Beach breaks are different all over the world for various reasons. You can have some cobblestones, you can have just sand. In Miyazaki, it's a sand beach break with a river mouth nearby, so there's a lot of sand moving. So that sandbar is going to shift around. Sandbar in Hawaii is based on a reef bottom. There is a coral reef out there that the sand has developed on and created this right and left that we've been riding. So what you do is you sit on the beach, you watch the peak happen for a little while, and you figure out what your landmark is on the beach, paddle out, look back, get your mark, get your setup, and that's your lineup, and that's where you stay. A bigger wave is going to break out a little farther on the peak of the sandbar. A smaller wave will move in a little bit. So you have to stick with your lineup. I mean, your lineup's basically true. You can see where the last wave broke. You look at that little triangle of white water, and that peak's kind of your spot. The peak's going to shift around a little bit, but basically the sandbar is going to be in the same place. I mean, that beach break, the reason that peak's coming at you, if the swell's not real consistent, like you've got a wind swell that's kind of coming all over the place, it might just hit the sandbar wrong and just peter out underneath you, just fake you out. That happens all the time. We came to Hawaii this time to shoot the film because it's the place where surfing started and where every surfer comes to prove themselves. And throughout time, surfers have come here and there's been somebody to show them around. I was brought here by older guys that showed me the ropes, showed me places to go. So this time I brought a kid from Newport, from where I grew up, Alex Knost, his first trip to Hawaii. He's been to Japan, he's been to Vietnam, but he'd never been to Hawaii, so it was kind of time to bring him along and share this deal with him. Alex is a kid. He's a really gifted kid, and it's fun to watch him because his style is evolving all the time. He's taking in the styles of his favorite surfers and making them his own. He is morphing into his hero's style. And later, 2 years from now, it'll be fun to see the changes in his style, where he's got Lance Carson arm movements, where he's got this kick stall that his friends have. You'll see that later dissolved and distilled a little bit and change. You've got a real traditional style. You're definitely single fin guy all the way, kind of the ultra classic end of the spectrum. How did that develop?
Well, the whole single fin deal kind of started it was what my dad wrote. I mean, basically, I can't say anything other than that. You know, I didn't even really think of, high performance longboarding because I figured, hey, doing the airs and the big turns was done on a shortboard. And, hey, I'm not riding a shortboard.
He's a flyweight. He weighs almost nothing. It's that cheap little body deal, so he's a great nose rider. And it's not just because he's light. It's not all little light kids can nose ride. He's got a really good sense of the wave and the sense of wave speed. He's fortunate that his dad's a really good surfer.
I just got hooked there, I got into the culture and started watching a lot of old surf videos, my dad had lying around the house, watched a lot of Lance Carson at Malibu, and just watched how he did those nice drop knees and a lot of nose riding, so I was like, I really got into that, and just, keeping it mellow, but then, I don't know, just, watch old videos, get the old images in your head and just kind of, go from that, and then that's how I made my surfing.
We've been experimenting with these mini longboards. They're transition era boards that Mark Martinson's been making for us. And they allow you to ride a little deeper, a little looser than a full longboard. And it's really fun to swap off. We've got a couple different boards at different sizes. And you can experiment more. You can turn a little tighter, you can cut back a little harder, and experiment with a new board that works better. And it's become extremely popular in California. You get to take all that energy and that love and the skills and make them your own. It develops into a really good surfer. The fade turn, which is almost exclusively a classic longboarding turn. It's that early entry that a longboard has that allows you that glide. And what that fade turn allows you to do is it allows you to set your wave up and wait for the energy to be there in front of you. The two most common ways you'll see a fade turn done. The first is to take it all the way out into the flat where you're taking all that gravity, all that energy of going down in the face. You load it up until you get into the flat, and then you get to your feet and you just get all that drive and the inertia. The second way is you'll see kind of a high fade up in the lip, and you just let that wave, you let your energy just kind of going towards the pocket, and then you pop it up high and you stay high. When Joel's riding is really heavy, his classic nose rider, you'll see him use the high fade. He hangs the board out there, waits till the wave sets up, and then just whips it over and goes right to the nose. And that's Joel's best setup for nose riding.
Mark is the one who I patterned my fade turn after. He'll take it way out into the flat, crank the board all the way over, and really get a lot of power and drive out of his fade turn.
The big thing with surfing is you cannot predict what each wave is going to give you, so you adjust as the wave develops in front of you. You want to walk on the board to complement what your goal is. Are you trying to get a nose ride, or are you trying to just improve trim? You come out of a turn and you might not want a whole nose ride, but you need to move your weight a little farther forward. You want to come out of the turn and just take a step or one little step, and that allows your board to flatten out and progress farther. Or do you come out of a turn and you're going to set up a nose ride and you're going to take all the steps all the way out to the front? And for a lot of people, if you're just beginning surfing, you want to wait till you have a nice little clean section in front of you, slow the board down, stall it, and then walk just to get the practice on the board. The Hawaiian style of longboarding is all based around power, powerful surfers dealing with powerful waves. Dino Miranda probably captures the all-around looseness of the Hawaiian surfer.
Eat one papaya in the shape of your head. You got Hawaiian soul. Down to big rides, check out the show. When I'm down south, mean a big waves, you know, in the back.
It doesn't matter which way the wave's going to go. You can almost can't tell if he's surfing frontside or backside because he switches stance so easily. And he has the ability to do things with a longboard that guys are still trying to do with shortboards.
I consider myself a progressive surfer. I mean, I love to do traditional moves like that, which is, it's easy to do, you know, it's easy to do. I love to do traditional maneuvers because it's part of our mandatory things that we have to do in contests, you know. If you don't do the 50-50, then
one of the things that Dino can do that very few other surfers can do as consistently as he is a tail 360. He can throw that board up onto the lip like you're almost doing like an off the lip, but then he shifts his weight to his front leg and kind of lays the back one down to kind of lift the tail out of the water, and that allows the fins to kind of start to rotate into the beach. And as soon as they bite, it'll spin the rest of the board around.
Buttons is what taught me how to do the 360s, and now we transferred it over to the longboard, and everybody's all like, how do you do it on longboard? I'm all like, well, as soon as you do it on a shortboard, then you come and see me, then I'll teach you how to do it on a longboard, you know? It's like...
The power-based Hawaiian style, I mean, for me, is probably best exemplified in Bonga Perkins because he puts together all the power and drive that is quintessentially Hawaiian, and then still has that magic nose riding skill, has that ability. Bonga's riding style is all off the tail.
I mean, you see all his power, it's on that back foot. He uses it to drive the tail of his board into the water and just send the rail up the face of the wave. It's power, it's drive, it's back leg, but it's also using the rest of his body to make it work.
Oh, you got Hawaiian soul.
Bonga has the ability to surf in a combination of styles, to take all that tail riding and still get up to the nose and control and drive from the nose, which is really harder to do on a multiple fin board. And you'll see him get up there and glide it around.
Just when I come home, I just feel like staying on my tail a little bit and just getting a few tubes. Yeah, I might run to the nose here and there, and a few occasions that you guys might catch me on the nose, but
the magazines like to put those
I try and you know, do it just for all you folks.
Lance exemplifies Hawaiian confidence in any condition. Lance's surfing style is very powerful and very controlled. He'll nose ride for contests, he'll nose ride when the waves are appropriate for it, but for the most part, Lance is about getting barreled, Lance is about power, and you can see him set things up, and Lance will use a stall, and it's all about positioning into the pocket, and it's that controlled power that comes from that personality. California guys are kind of trying to style out and all this other bullshit, and you guys are a lot looser in your
I
whole
can
approach.
break that down. In California, they're not running for their lives. They're stalling, trying to get nose rides, you know, drop knee cutbacks. Over here, the first thing you learn is to get out of the way of the wave, you know, because if you don't, you're gonna get thumped on. So we learn at a young age how to turn your board and get out of the way, but yet still get back into the wave, you know?
Another question for you. I mean, in California, maybe one or two guys attempt switch stance, but it's like second nature to everyone over here.
You know, when you're small, you don't really know what your stance. You go what you feel comfortable. Over here, I've learned over the years, well, I got a good teacher. His name is Rusty. Then I just kept doing it until now. It's like second nature to me. I can ride rights or lefts.
He really tries to exert his will on the wave. And that's, you know, Lance can do these things. Lance has that dominant ability. And it's what he's passed on to Bonga and to Dino and to the other guys, trying to instill their own confidence into them. And Lance shows that when he surfs. In Hawaii, there's a really neat crew of kids. You know, they're all in their teens. They're chasing Bonga down. Bonga was kind of chasing, you know, Rusty and chasing Lance and chasing Dino because Bonga's younger than them. The new group, one of them, Kekoa Uemura, he's China's kid. China was one of the big time competitive surfers, runs one of the more fun longboard contests anywhere in the world at Queens. Kekoa grew up watching some really good surfers, and it's hard to really pinpoint little things. I think it's just a product of all his friends and the people he surfs with on the South Shore and on the North Shore. Who's got stuff that you want?
A lot of the Hawaii surfers. I mean, a lot of Hawaii guys I see like Bonga and Rusty, you know, they've got the power in their surfing, as well as they got the style, which you need both if you want to, you know, try and compete. So.
Kyoki's another one of the kids that's up and coming, real loose, trying to figure everything out.
Bonga Perkins, he's really good. I like him. Style's really fluid and smooth.
So it's fun to watch him go for stuff and watch him push his own limits, especially when he surfs with his friends who are better surfers, when he's surfing with the older guys, and he's like, I can do that, watch this. Surfing with your friends, surfing with the guys that are better than you learn, you grow, you become a better surfer. The leading style difference between the Hawaiians and the Californians, Hawaiians have adapted to the more powerful wave, staying closer to the pocket. They've used the multiple fin setup to its fullest advantage of being able to drive a tighter turn back into the pocket. They're really energy focused around the pocket. Whereas the Californian, used to a longer point break or a softer beach break wave, kind of draws a longer, smoother line because our wave is more forgiving. And what you'll see with the Hawaiians is they have a tendency to stand because it's a thruster setup. You'll see that they stand, their back foot is right where those two fins are. That's where they're getting their drive, because the fins and the hard edges on the rail, that's what gives them all the power out of their turn. And the Californian stands right back in the same theory, right in front of his fin box. That's where he's getting his drive out of the single fin. So it's real important where you stand on the board. And a good trick sometimes when you have a new board or if you're switching from a single fin to a multiple fin is to either build up a little bar of wax, build up a little mound of wax on your board, or maybe put a little piece of tape there or a sticker. So that way when you go to make a turn, if it doesn't work right, you can look down, oh, okay. And then, when you make the second turn on that wave, you've adjusted and you see if it works better because your foot's in a better place. So there's the two basic styles that you see over here, the straight thruster or the 2+1 setup. Which do you prefer?
I prefer the 2+1 because it handles better on bigger waves. I like the thrusters too, they're more loose. They'll turn a lot quicker. But the Hawaii has a lot better, stronger power wave, so you need a little bigger back fin. Because at times the regular thrusters do spin out on bigger waves.
And you find for nose riding, will you change out your back fin to make it a little longer even, or?
Right. The 9-inch fins are better for nose riding, but the regular 7-inch fins are good too for nose riding too. They're pretty much all around board for a 2+1.
There are more women in the water today than ever. Little girls, older women, mothers and daughters. It's great to see that happening. It changes the vibe in the water. You get a bunch of guys together and they get real serious and real competitive with each other. And you get some girls in the water and it's, hey, it's fun again. Remember, we're at the beach, we're having a good time. Individual surfers' style and the way they approach a wave is as much a result of people that influence them, people's styles that they like, as much as it is the waves that they grew up riding. The two women from California, Carrie and Maureen, have really distinct styles that are a little bit opposite of each other. Maureen grew up with a classic California beach family and has an absolute traditionalist approach to waves.
I'll scratch yours and you scratch mine. Sign right here on the dotted line.
Never been in the water and not seen Maureen smile. She likes to play with the wave. The ocean is her best friend, and she likes to have that little dance with it. And that's what it looks like when Maureen's in the water. Little subtleties, she can stall and pivot and just place her board in a wave. She likes to ride a really big board. She likes to have a smooth glide with her style. That really captures the way Maureen surfs. Your whole family surfs. You've been a surfer since in utero, actually, right?
Exactly. My mother was a professional surfer. She has always been known as a really feminine type surfer. She's got a real graceful style, and I always looked up to her. And I shortboarded, you know, I mean, all through my teens, high school, and then when I went into college, I kind of was strapped for time, and I didn't really have as much time to get down to the beach, and so I just started taking out a longboard for fun, and I love the glide. I mean, for me, it was just like, oh my gosh, I'm like taking 3 paddles and I'm into the wave, and it's just fun. And
Carrie's style, she grew up in San Diego, influenced by one of the classic San Diego style masters, Skip Fry. Super smooth, trying to get long, clean rides, trying to keep her upper body quiet. Trying to pull in on waves, trying to use her power. She's a physically really strong woman, so she's trying to exert that power. And so she'll push the board a little bit more, try to get a little bit more vertical with it. But again, it's a California approach.
Skip Fry surfed right out in front where I was surfing every day. So, I mean, there was somebody who could just glide his board and everything was effortless. Little waves, big waves, it was effortless. So, I mean, he'd probably have to be the biggest person that influenced me initially. I figured a lot of it, especially with my bigger, heavier boards, is I move my feet a lot more. Like if I'm gonna cut back, I'll put my foot back on the tail, you know, like I'll move that foot around rather you see the guys like planting themselves and turning themselves. I'll try to do it with using the board a little bit more, I think.
There's a noticeable difference between the Hawaiian women and the California women, just like with the guys. Desiree's style is really the quintessential Hawaiian style of surfing with a slight feminine twist to it. It's a little bit of a longer line, a really clean line, but still oriented into the pocket.
I mean, you get the best parts of the shortboarding, but you get the greatest parts of the longboarding also. You get to pick the cream of the crop wave, you know, and then you get to, I mean, have a good time on it. It's like a dance, you know.
That's exactly it. I've always thought that a good surfer makes it look easy. You'll see that with Desiree. Really complicated, off the lips, off the white water, wraparound turns as if it was nothing, really fluid and loose. And I think the more progressive style of surfing, which you see in Hawaii, the more you know about it, the more difficult you know that it is. And Desiree has the ability to make that look easy. And that's what makes them such good surfers. It looks like they're just out there playing, like it's the easiest thing in the world. Stalling sets up a number of things. There's stalling from the nose, there's stalling from the tail. There's a little mid-board check stall where you're just lifting the board, and you're just cutting it back 10-15 degrees, just kind of waiting for the wave, as opposed to the full, bring it back into a cutback. The most obvious stall is just the cutback. That's where you're taking your board back into the energy of the wave, waiting there for the wave to develop in front of you. It's just done off the tail, either a flat-footed cutback or the drop knee cutback that allows you to get back. You cut back, you wait, you watch what's going on down the line. When it sets up, you bring it back and off you go. Another form of stalling is the check stall or the little kick stall, where you're just kind of lifting your board up, just kind of kicking it, lifting it for just a second, waiting. You're not committing to a cut back, to changing direction. You're just kind of checking it, waiting, staying on the tail, and then letting it run. Alex really uses that little swing or check stall. I mean, it's a real Lance Carson-esque move to stand way back on the tail, kind of swing the board back and forth, waiting for the wave to develop, and then letting it run down the line. And another form of stalling is the nose riding stall, where when you're out in the trim spot and you're ready for hanging 5 has a lot of speed, has a lot of forward progression. And then if you slow it down, when you actually get all the way on the nose, you're putting so much weight and pressure, you're going to start to stall the board out a little bit. And when you need to pick it up and go fast, you move your weight back. But actually hanging 10, that maneuver, is a stalling. What happens when you're nose riding at a beach break, especially with a wind swell where it's inconsistent and a little bigger, a little smaller, the wave's going to shift around and it's going to change. And what you have to be able to do is adjust the line that your board's taking. And it's little thing. You're hoping when everything's right, you're just going to go up and get a nice nose ride. You're going to be able to stand and lock in. With a beach break that shifts around, you're going to have to shift your weight back, or you're going to have to shift your weight to the outside rail. You're going to switch down the face of the wave because it's not a consistent peeling wave. What's nice about a single fin is they're real forgiving in that situation. They allow you to be kind of mid-board, adjust out and around, get to this side of the board, adjust around it, and then lock back in. They're a little bit more forgiving. Frequently when you watch Joel nose ride or good nose riders, they actually make adjustments from the front third of the board. They've made their move out there, but they'll see things changing in the wave in front of them, or they'll actually feel it through their legs. So they're making little adjustments. They're shifting a little down and up, a little climbing and dropping. And it's just shifting your weight from one foot to the other. You know, just the same as you shift it forward when you can and back to slow down or go faster, you'll see shifts where a little bit more inside rail or outside rail weight to compensate for what's going on in the face of the wave. Same thing with Martinson. You'll look at the way that they change the weighting. You'll see them either lean forward, lean to a side, make shifts and adjustments. And a lot of it you'll see just little body tweaks, little English that's allowing the board to change. At the same time as you'll see someone's arms move, their weight's shifting. Arms going this way, it means weight's shifting to this leg. You just see these little shifts go on. It's little hula stuff. Everything that's being done with those adjustments, it's keeping your weight and your balance basically over the center part of the board. I mean, you're shifting your weight here but to your leg, but at the same time your upper body is trying to stay on the center of the board. You're using the weight to drop a rail, but you can't commit your whole body to it or you drop your body. So that weight's going to that outside rail, but your body and the heaviest part, your shoulders and your head, still need to stay focused over the center of your board or you'll lose the whole lot. The best surfers in the world are the guys that are having the most fun and that make it look easier than anything else. And I don't think there's anyone in the world that makes surfing look easier than Joel Tudor.
Well, I ain't seen her since she was 19. She must have broke a couple hearts in between. One was a Roan and one, I guess, was some lucky joker who said yes, yes. She's quite alright with me. She's quite alright with me. When she called my number, I would say, ooh, she's quite alright with me.
He's got the ability to make the most complicated maneuver look effortless. It's that fluidness in his body, it's that relaxed style that you can't believe where he is in the position of the wave, how high up in the face, how steep the wave is, and how relaxed he is through it. And a lot of that being that relaxed makes it easier because he's more willing to accept the changes in the face of a wave and just adapt to them. As you tense up, the sharper and jerkier reaction is and the more likely you are to overcorrect your board.
All the girls grease my gears. She's quite alright with me. She's quite alright with me. When she called my number, I'm saying, ooh, she's quite alright with me. Oh, take me home, son. Take me on home to 14th Street.
So Joel's looseness and his fluidity allows him to adjust and control, all the time making it look super easy. Basically the wave out front here, nice fade turn, come out to the nose.
Yeah, usually with nose riding, you kind of want to set it up with a fade at first and sort of stall it at the top and kind of sort of watch the wave to see if it's going to speed up or slow down, because sometimes right when you take off it'll peak up but it'll hold, and you'll get like a steep section right in front of you, and you can kind of, like for me, I'll usually like stand right here for a second and sort of like move it a little bit and wait for the wave to get the right speed to get to the nose, and then as I feel that it's the right time, I slowly start to move up. Sometimes you can stop here because you might be going a little too fast, and this is a nice trim section to like be at the midway. Right in here is a really nice neutral spot because you can still trim and you can move sort of like back and forth as much as you want, rather than trying to go all the way back at first.
Yeah.
That might be the best spot. Or if you want, you can sometimes stop in the middle to get your feeling of what it's like to ride this half, and then move back, or make your steps more forward. Fade turns are really important. They can set you up for a lot of different things, even for the tube, or they can draw out a really long bottom turn around a section just by staying on your stomach a little longer, and like getting up and drawing it out. And it can set you up for a perfect nose ride. You can fade back. Say if you're going to go left, you could go right, fade, and it'll slow you around just to the perfect part of the wave to where you can, run back up and get there and hold it for a while. Or sometimes it can throw you off. You could fade a little too much and not quite make it.
I have a question, and this is kind of to their point. After having as many nose rides as you get succeeded and failed, you kind of know when most people want to back off and think it's not going to make. But don't you think that if you have the experience over time, when a lot of people would actually back off the nose, you're going to be fine. It might go under a little bit, but it's just, going through some chop.
Or even just a little thing. That's the thing with nose riding, is your back foot makes such a difference. I mean, I can kind of explain. Once your front foot gets up there, this back foot can keep you from curling. I mean, just by putting it back, because it's weight, you're altering your back foot weight. Say as you start to get up high, then you move it back up forward. As you start to drop down low, then you move it back, and it's almost like you're planing through the next part, waiting to get up high again, and then you just move it back up and sit there until it's time to get
That's your
off.
little anchor. You want to drag it a little bit, change your weight.
It's really important. As the wave starts to slow down, I move my back foot forward, and as it starts to speed up, I move it back just so my weight's not forward and I'm not curling. You understand what I'm saying? I start to alter my weight back so the board starts to lift up a bit. And then when it starts climbing up high, back forward again. Sinking down, move it back, If you're going front side, if you're goofy foot and you're going left, obviously your feet would probably tend to be on, how would I say, the left side of the stringer. And then if you're going right, it's obviously the other way around. Your feet sort of tend to be over here a little bit more rather than on this side. At least for my own personal preference. Definitely not nose riding until both your feet get over the end. That is one thing I want to make really perfectly clear. If you do not have your toes completely wrapped over, you're cheating. And if they're up here, you're not nose riding, you're just trimming up close to the front half.
So what are the different kinds of waves? The more steps, the less steps.
Obviously at a beach break, because the wave's so much faster, you have to speed up your steps. You can't really take your time. So I mean, say you take off and you stall, rather than taking a bunch of steps like Skip Fry or somebody where you like take forever to get up there. You kind of have to like make it quick, like maybe make it sort of 1, 2, like to get
But it's only 2 steps.
Yeah. The beach breaks and waves around Japan and Kamakura and all that, sometimes maybe a few steps quicker. And if you were at, say, Malibu or maybe one of the river mouths or Rincon or whatever, you'd take less steps. I mean, at least for me, that seems like. At a wave like Malibu, you can take out and like, stall for half of the wave if you want waiting to nose ride, and then take little itty bitty steps to like get up there and then.
There's so many different cutbacks. There's a cutback that's just kind of a check, kind of waiting for it. There's the complete roundhouse cutback.
You go all the way around, you bank back off the water, and then there's drop knees and stuff where you actually that's probably the most difficult one to do. Sort of stand flat-footed and move the board around, but it's so darn awkward to actually have to like. It's all in your toes rather than your heel, and I don't think people really understand that all your power comes through in here, and it's just sort of really awkward at times to like try and turn like that. Even your arms start doing weird stuff. But once you do get it down, it's such like a beautiful way to cut back. So many people for so many decades now have like. Had this really gorgeous. For me personally, where I like to turn is usually exactly my back foot goes right over where the fin is on the front of the fin on the bottom of the board. I put my foot directly on that, and that's like my turning patch. It seems like that's where I get all my drive, right out of that. Directly in front of the fin is where my back foot is, okay? So if I'm riding a mid-length and my fin is super far forward, say it's like 10 inches forward, my stance is in the middle of the board. When I'm cutting back, it's like this. Longboards, you're like back here trying to get the thing to move around. Obviously it's heavier too, so you got to stand further back to get it to alter its course. They're not quite so forgiving. Everybody's built differently. No two people can serve identically. Your body types are different, but you definitely can have influence from watching people. Say you saw David do a certain arch, or one guy did an aerial this way, or this guy did that. You take from that, but in the long run, you end up making it your own sort of. Well, you're just recreating. It's the evolution of life. The full cycle keeps going. No one can get anywhere without being able to take from somebody else. I think copying is the biggest form of flattery. So if someone copies you, then you're obviously doing something right. And that's the direction I'm going in.
As my culture slips away and I'm unable to fold my hands and ask for favors that I do or don't deserve. I tried to do too much today. My shot was missing, but I rose to the task. My labor was on time, and that's the word. In case you haven't heard, then maybe walk with me a while. I wanna stare upon the smile that made my life a mess. Sunshine through your dress, make me love the things you wear. Butterscotch, butterscotch, butterscotch. I
tied a thread into a noose. Delicately, delicately and gracefully I lose. My complications grow and multiply. Now again, girl, here we are. I'm gazing at the pavement, you're reaching for a star. Tell me if I let go, I'll be fine. It's a simple state of mind. It's a simple state of mind. Baby, walk with me a while. I wanna stare upon the smile that made my life a mess. When the sun shines through your dress, make me love the things you wear. Butterscotch, butterscotch, butterscotch.
If there's only one thing that you take away from this video, I hope it's the love for the ocean and the spirit of surfing and the fun that it has that is most exemplified by the Hawaiian people. They seem to have more fun in the ocean than anyone else, and they're the most willing to share it. And if that teaches you to share your home spot, to share your lineups, to share the fun little secrets of where you live with others, then I'm happy, because then you're loving the sport of surfing and the art of surfing as much as I am. Because they have all the fun, they had it all to themselves, and they've embraced us forever and letting us come and share it with them. So share it with your friends, make it a fun thing to do with everyone, share it with your kids, share it with your neighbors' kids, share it with as many people as you can, because the more people that are in the water that are fun and happy and friendly, the more we're all going to enjoy it.
It was the summer of our lives back in '93. It all seems like yesterday. We shared our first kiss under the moon, just off a Lee Drive, and watched the sunsets from the bay. But then it came time to say goodbye, when things were going right. I've been waiting here for you under cold skies, singing my heart out to the sea. Been away for much too long. I've been waiting here for you under cold skies, dreaming of the way it used to be under corner skies. West side has grown since you've been gone. There's been a lot of changes, but one thing still remains the same. Don't you worry, it ain't you. There ain't nothing you can do. just me, yeah. I feel this way. It's just me and I don't know what to say. 'Cause I'm so caught up in you. Oh, 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 I know that you must be wondering, oh, what's been going on, what's been going on. Well, I don't know what it is, but I know you gotta be strong. Hey, hey. Well, I'll be alright. There's just something that's been on my mind. But when I'm with you, when I'm with you, you know I feel so fine. 'Cause you're always on my mind. So don't you worry, well, it ain't you. There ain't nothing you can do. Well, it's just me, yeah. It's just me. I feel this way. It's just me and I don't know what to say. Because I'm so caught up in you. Oh, I'm so caught up in you. Oh, I'm so caught up in you. Oh, I'm so caught up in you.